Okay, I don't know about anybody else, but I am still mourning the loss of Dickie Betts. And I've got a couple good old Dickie Betts solo albums here, vintage vinyl, I thought we'd share. This first one is called Highway Call. And I bought this in a box of records at a flea market. I'm not too familiar with this album, but it looks like a very good album. This is a 1974 album. There's Dickie Betts. I think this was in that period, kind of after Brothers and Sisters. They went through a period where they didn't get along too well. There were some legal issues involved. I'm not sure the chronology of this album, but anyway, there's Dickie Betts. And this is a good album. This kind of highlights the countryside of Dickie Betts a little bit. It's got Vassar Clements on it. Now that Tommy Talton, he was the other guitar player on this, and there were a bunch of Southern rockers back then that are not as famous today. Like Les Dudek is a guy that's on Brothers and Sisters. There's Tommy Talton. He's kind of like that. There's Chuck Leavell. Chuck Leavell, the great piano player. He plays for the Stones, Clapton, Jeff and Janie Hanna. The Poindexters. Look, that's kind of bluegrassy. Or is that the Rumbos? Richard Betts. John Huey. He's got a dobro. He's really kind of emphasizing the countryside of things a little bit. Handpicked, Kiss Me Kid. Let Nature Sing, Highway Call, Rain, Long Time Gone. I wonder if that's the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song. All right, now this is Great Southern. I bought this album in college, and I enjoyed this album. Look, it's got kind of an Old South plantation cover there. Wonder if they do that today. Dickie Betts and Great Southern. But I had this album. Now, this album features Dangerous Dan Toler. That's Dangerous Dan Toler, and I saw him because he played with Greg Allman and Dickie Betts solo albums, and he was also in the Allman Brothers for a lot of the 80s. Before Warren Haynes, he was one of the main Allman Brothers that was kind of the Dwayne replacement. There's Dickie Betts. And this is a good album. It's got kind of that old live feel, even though it's a studio album. I remember Sweet Virginia, Sweet Bougainvillea. Sweet Bougainvillea is a really nice kind of instrumental, kind of one of those epic kind of Dickie Betts instrumentals that's got all these really nice worked out melodic guitar lines with him and Dangerous Dan. Now this is the sleeve on the Great Southern album. There's old Dickie Betts. Look, got kind of a Jimmy Buffett look there. Also very 70s. You know, everything in the 70s wasn't so uptight, I think. People had a little fun in life. There he is. Looks like he just caught that big fish. Very Florida. There he is down there. Wonder who that is. That, you know, a little girl he had around this time was the girl who was Jessica was named after. I wonder if that's her. We got some. Now this album has a guy named Tommy Talton on guitar on it. Or excuse me, this album. No. This is the Dangerous Dan Toler album. There's Dickie Betts playing a Les Paul. I just miss the days when you got a lot of nice pictures in these albums. I think that woman might be kind of famous. You know, in the 70s, he went out with there was a girl named Blue Sky that was the inspiration for the song. I don't want to get the details right, but I actually hear people that were around Macon, Georgia in the 70s tell me that sometimes. That Blue Sky was named after a girl that was kind of well-known around that time. And I just thought we'd look at this one, too. I've got this album. This is Greg Allman, Laid Back, while we have 70s Allman Brothers solo albums out. This is a good album. In fact, this is my favorite Greg Allman solo album. Not that I've listened to that much Greg Allman solo music. I did see the Greg Allman solo band back in the late 80s at Michigan. But I remember this album from the 70s. It's got a really good version of Midnight Rider on it. Kind of a more bluesy version. There. That's Greg Allman and a girlfriend of his at the time named Janice Blair. Look at the nice photography. You get some big, giant, nice, glossy color photos in these albums. Here's the band. What do we got there? It's got there's that bluesy version of Midnight Rider. I also remember it's got a really good version of Midnight Will the Circle Be Unbroken, and there's Please Call Home If You Change Your Mind. And this album has Chuck Leavell on it too. Look, Greg Allman, vocals, drums. Bill Stewart, drums. There's Tommy Talton on guitar. So, a lot of the same guys that played with Dickie Betts. Is that J-Mo there? Really good album. Janice Allman. I should look in all these names. And, I live in Georgia, so I'm always running into people that at least say I knew this so-and-so, or I was there when the Allman Brothers did this or that. If they're a little older than I am. Kind of like the Atlanta rhythm section. Everybody's friends with someone who used to be friends of a friend of someone who used to be in the Atlanta rhythm section. But it's a good album. And I think this was a 1973 album, and it wasn't too long after this that Greg Allman married Cher, which I think was in 75, and this album came out in 73. Definitely a good album. Thanks. God bless.